नमस्ते। हम हमारे नए एपिसोड के साथ हाजिर हैं। आज हम बात करेंगे फादर सेड्रिक प्रकाश से, जो कि जेसुइट प्रीस्ट है, बहुत अवॉर्डेड प्रीस्ट है, जो कि ह्यूमन राइट्स एक्टिविस्ट हैं और इंटरनेशनली जाने जाते हैं। गुजरात के वो क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी के स्पोक्सपर्सन भी रह चुके हैं और कई जगहों पे उनने अपना काम किया है। तो आइए हम उनके साथ बातचीत करते हैं। Welcome to the show, Father Cedric Prakash. We're really glad to talk to you again. Uh, Christmas season has just passed, and there have been many attacks on Christians. There have also been the bishops who had invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What would you like to say on all these happenings in the last few days?
Thank you, Sonal Kellogg, for inviting me to the show. I feel a sense of great joy and, in fact, a privilege to be on your show because I realize that all your programs are very focused, very incisive, and has a wide range of viewership. So thank you for inviting me to be on your show once again. And at the outset, I would like to wish all your viewers the blessings of Christmas right through this new year 2025. We celebrate the Jubilee year of Christendom, 2025 years of birth of Jesus. And for the Catholics, it's a very, very special Jubilee year, which we call Pilgrims of Hope. So Christmas is a celebration of the person and message of Jesus, who came to bring to this world joy, peace, justice, harmony, goodwill to all men and women. These are exactly the values that are enshrined in a constitution. So if a school in Ahmedabad, and these are not run by Christians, celebrate Christmas, the spirit of Christmas, to have a Santa Claus and to have decorations and so on, what business do the right-wing Hindu outfits like the Bajrang Dal, the VHP go and storm the schools? We have videos, we have evidence. We it as a People's Union for Civil Liberties. We have complained to the police and so on about this. What business do they have to be able to attack the school, the principal, the teachers, and the children? I'm saying, where is this country coming to? And the important thing is that they do so with impunity because they know that they have, from the powers that rule the country, a tremendous sense of immunity. And this is serious. Coming to your second question about the bishops that invited the prime minister, let's say, I'm very, very clear. I think anyone can invite anyone to their home, to their institution at any time. This is a free country, and I think it is their prerogative, their
आप सबके साथ जुड़ने का ये अवसर, ये दिन हम सबके लिए यादगार रहने वाला है। ये अवसर इसलिए भी खास है क्योंकि इसी वर्ष सीबीसीआई की स्थापना के 80 वर्ष पूरे हो रहे हैं। मैं इस अवसर पर सीबीसीआई और उससे जुड़े सभी लोगों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, पिछली बार आप सभी के साथ मुझे प्रधानमंत्री निवास पर क्रिसमस मनाने का अवसर मिला था।
their right to invite whomever they want. I'm not, say, finding fault with that right. But the point is, to invite the prime minister for a Christmas celebration, if he comes on his own to greet, this is not done. Where in the history of India, of the Catholic Church of India, in these, from 1947, has the church invited the head of the government or the head of the country to come for a Christmas celebration at the headquarters and so on is not done. So why it is done, that definitely has intrigued a lot of us and so on. Having said this, I need to raise to flag of three issues. The first is very, very clear. There have been so many attacks on the Christians in India this whole year, and very especially from 2014, the past 10 years. There are hundreds of attacks and the destruction of even houses of worship where Christians are concerned. The Prime Minister has not condemned any of these things. From May 2023, look at what is happening in Manipur. The people who are at the receiving end are the Christians, the cookies. The vast majority, in fact, they say 100% of them are Christian. It is true that mighty Christian churches have also been attacked, but the hand of the central government, of the state government, is clearly involved. Look at what is happening, as I said earlier, in Chhattisgarh, in UP, in Madhya Pradesh, and in several other parts of the country today. When all these attacks are taking place, why hasn't the Prime Minister, has somebody responsible for the well-being of every single citizen, condemned these attacks and ensured that the law and order mechanism takes place? Having said this, even the Prime Minister was invited, did the bishops have the courage to give him in writing the amount of documented instances of the way the Christians have been targeted all these years, ever since the BJP came to power in 2014?
This was also in last year Christmas when actually the Prime Minister invited a lot of bishops and other dignitaries and celebrities from the Christian faith. Even that time there was this criticism about nobody asking him any questions. Again this year, now the bishops had invited him, and again the same thing of not speaking out. When attacks just continue to keep on happening, and he's never condemned any attack. What do you have to say? Except he says that outside India, when he says that minorities are protected in India and all, but it's not the ground reality.
See, this Prime Minister, and I would like to go on record, is been very consistent in what is called something Goebbelsian, the information minister of Hitler during the Nazi regime, Joseph Goebbels. Tell a lie 1,000 times and people will tend to believe it. The attacks on the Christians have been mentioned. Look at the biography, autobiography which Angela Merkel has written, called Freedom. She has said that I spoke to the Prime Minister of the attacks on the Christians and other minorities in India. It is there documented. The US Commission for International Religious Freedom, the State Department of the United States, and several other
Also
countries
the
in the European
Union.
Union, have flagged out the attacks of the Christians. And the fact is, this Prime Minister goes into denial mode. He either thinks that people are morons or people do not know what is happening. And the point is, to fall into that trap, is something very, very serious. What about the anti-conversion laws? It's not whether I have the right to convert you, but whether Article 25, which is there in the Indian Constitution and in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, gives me the right to preach, practice, and propagate my religion, and to be able to express my religion freely, without hostility, without let or hindrance in any way.
In Chhattisgarh also, they had a couple of women, they tied them to the tree and really abused them badly.
See, there is so much of thing documented. Yes. There are organizations which are premier organizations in India, which are documenting all these attacks with evidence. People are being put in jail, pastors, priests, and so on. And even if a group of sisters, are traveling by train, from one place to another with a group of young girls, maybe on a school or a college, exposure. Those sisters, just because of the habit they wear, are treated with suspicion that they have got these girls in order to convert them. Now, what right does anyone have to be able to regard me with suspicion and to try to determine what I say, what I read, what I wear, what I eat? And we have had that classic example of an old man who was going with some chicken or whatever it is for his daughter, and a whole group of men in a train, in a public train, accost him, saying that he has got beef and so on. I mean, who are they to take law and order in their own hands? They can do so only if they have immunity, and because they are doing it with a tremendous amount of impunity, as I said earlier.
I want to ask you one question. Is that otherwise Christians are seen as people who are upholders of human rights. In India, what do you think of this? I mean, are they speaking for other marginalized communities, for the Muslims, for people who are on the margins of society, or who are being attacked, like Sudha Bhartwaj or even Umar Khalid? What do you have to say about that? Because the church has been actually silent on all these things.
Yes, it's a pity the institutional church has been silent, criminally silent, and we'll be asked on the last day, why did we not speak out? Because being silent is also being complicit in a crime. And the institutional church across the board has not stood up, has not been visible and vocal in what is happening in the country. Take, for example, the people languishing in jail. There are still several who are there arrested in the Bhima Koregaon conspiracy case. Some like Sudha Bharadwaj and Vernon Gonsalves, Arun Ferreira, and a couple of others have been given bail. But there are still others there. Stan Swami was denied a SIPA, okay? And then he died, which we regard as an institutional murder. He died on the 5th of July, a couple of years ago. Now, there are any amount of people languishing in jail. People who, like, say, Umar Khalid, he was there in the protests against this very anti-constitutional Citizenship Amendment Act. He has spoken out, and he is a top scholar of the JNU. Now, why should he be in jail? That is a question. Why is he not being given bail? Why does he not get the right to defend himself?
And he is on bail, but on very conditional short
on
bail.
Conditional short bail for a ceremony and so on. But he's gone back to jail. But the point is, why isn't the church not speaking about what would Jesus have done? Just take the example of the woman caught in adultery. When the powerful, the scribes and Pharisees, the lawyers of that time, were using the law, that old, ancient, anti-human Mosaic law, to stone the women. I mean, adultery. I mean, why should only the woman be stoned to death? Jesus is asking. What about the man who has committed adultery? Okay, we are not looking into the fact that laws are meant for the good of man, and how do we enhance the goodness of a person, even if the person is a sinner? Now, the point is, when we take a stand for the hundreds and thousands, we are the Jubilee year, and one of the things that the Jubilee year is to set the prisoners free. How many of us in the church, across Christianity, will work towards the bail of those who are illegally incarcerated in prison, and also on those on whom false cases have been foisted upon, whether it is journalists, whether it is human rights defenders, whether it is people who take a stand for the Adivasis, for the Dalits, for the OBCs, for the LGBTQI fraternity, for the small farmers, for the migrant workers, for the indigenous coastal people, as has happened in Trivandrum. They have been jailed, they have been incarcerated, there's been vengeance and vendetta all along. The church in the Jubilee year needs to stand out, to speak out for justice, for truth, if it's truly intending to celebrate this Jubilee year of hope.
I would like to bring to your attention this article written by Derek O'Brien, which is really actually quite viral. Will the church please speak up? He's actually quoted you, and I'd like to read that. So I'd like to quote what Derek O'Brien has said. He has said that he has quoted Father Cedric Prakash, and he said the church leadership in India seems to have missed the bus. Their hearts and ears are not listening to the cries of the millions suffering in the country, particularly the minorities. Even if they are aware of these ground realities, they seem to be totally frightened of the ruling regime to take a visible and vocal stand just in case the powers bring out the skeletons in the cupboard. All this does not augur well for authentic Christian discipleship in today's India. Now, I would like to say that these are very strong words which you are speaking. What stand should the Christians take up? It's not the church, but because the church consists of the clergy and the laity. What's the role of the laity? Actually, they are much more in number.
Yeah, here in the Catholic Church, we have just finished a process called the synodal process, the Synod of Synods, in which we speak about communion, participation, and mission. And if you look at our icon of the synodal process, it is the laity who should be given leadership. Unfortunately, we have not empowered the laity. And Pope Francis, as the leader of the Catholic Church, has set out tremendously against clericalism. He has set out against the hierarchy, he has set out against even patriarchy in the church. So now this is the bane of the church. We have not empowered and given laity their necessary role within Christianity. Some Christian denominations have excellent lay people who run the church, who are there in their church leadership, who are even pastors and so on, women pastors in the church, but not so in the Catholic Church. So how do we create this community participation and mission?
Because they are in the marketplace, they are like lawyers, journalists, they're academicians, they are in all places.
Right. So laity are running the world.
Yes.
They are running the world. So why can't they run the administrative wing of the church? Why can't they be the spokespersons of the church? Why can't they have the leadership? So the synodal process, as I told you, is the laity leading the church. So unless the laity take a stand, a visible and vocal stand, and this will not come from the bishops, this will not come from the priests or the clerics, this will have to come from the laity themselves. So it has to begin now. The time is now.
You know that India is lagging behind in every single parameter, whether it's human index, whether human development index, or whether it is the press freedom, or whether it is justice, and whether it is poverty, all kinds of parameters, we are actually lagging behind. Even in whether it is growth and GDP, rise, all of it, we are really doing bad. Our rupee is doing badly against the dollar. In all parameters, we're doing bad, but yet we are being called that we are a growing economy, a shining economy, and that we are going to be a 5 trillion economy. What do you have to say? Because in all these matters, people are affected, the citizens are affected when it comes to freedom, justice.
Yeah. So I think Akar Patel, a well-known journalist, has written a very, very important article recently, I think, for the Wire, for the Scroll. And when he has said that India is way down at the bottom of the abyss in all global indices, And let's look at economic. There are economic, there are social, and there are, in a way, what we call the happiness index in terms of satisfaction and so
Even
on.
politically, we are
And
considered
politically,
a failed democracy.
a failed democracy. You look at, we democracy index from Sweden and so on. So we are bottom in environment. Just now we have come up maybe 2 steps up the ladder. Last year we were the last country in the world in the environmental index. Now in poverty, we are in the press index, the freedom of the press index. Journalists are throttled, they are frightened, they are taken over,
They're
they are
jailed.
co-opted, they are jailed, they are incarcerated. And so, who's running the media today? We have codified laptop media in the country. So India is in a pathetic state, in spite of the lies, in spite of the figment of one's imagination, the manufactured untruth that is constantly being foisted on the people. So I think it is important for civil society. We have top economists, we have top people who have been in the country, who have been looking at these indices, who are well there. The simple question we need to ask ourselves is, why are well-placed Gujaratis, okay, rich Gujaratis, getting involved in human trafficking and rushing to United States and Canada? When if this was the Ache Din in Gujarat, people who are spending lakhs and crores of rupees, Gujaratis from North Gujarat and so on, are going in illegal planes, going in illegal boats, walking the distance from Canada to the United States, freezing from that, is all documented. It's a disgrace for India. Okay, it is a sure blacklist. So whatever the Prime Minister says about the lies that are foisted, been told in the international arena, okay, is, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time.
One area which is again not explored a lot or talked about a lot is the amount of violence that women are facing.
Yeah.
Another area which is really dismal in our country, and also child sexual abuse. And again, the church is not doing enough on these issues and women leadership. A lot of women issues are not taken up seriously by the church.
Yes, that is true. And there is a lot of abuse, all kinds of abuse. There is physical abuse, there is sexual abuse, there is psychological abuse within the church. And the church has not spoken strongly enough to the abuse that is taking place, outside in civil society. And children are being abused, and there are documented instances. And there are enough of documents. There are enough of prescriptions, directions in every single church that these issues need to be addressed. So the church needs to come of age, treat women with the dignity they deserve, because every single human being, man, woman, and child, is created in the image and likeness of God. Every child should be protected. We have children who are unprotected even within the safety and security of one's own family. There's lots of child abuse, people being kidnapped, people being taken into beggary. There is so much of human trafficking that is. It is true in the Catholic Church we do have some dimensions of to address human trafficking, but I think we have a long way to go to touch what is structural, to touch what is endemic in society today.
So, what do you think is the way forward? I mean, because there's no stand by the church anywhere. I mean, whenever you talk about people who are protesting, human rights activists and all, there's hardly any Christian there. The left protests much more. What should the church be doing? Partnering or what?
See, I'm a person with a lot of hope.
Okay.
I'm an optimist, and I very sincerely believe that things will change. This is the Jubilee year of Christianity 2025. It is also 75 years of the Constitution. So it is a time that we as citizens of India, especially those who profess the name of Christ, Jesus very clearly told us, not all who say, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father. How do if you look at the Messianic proclamation from the Gospel of Luke, which is also called the Nazareth Declaration, Jesus very clearly spells out his mission to set the downtrodden free, to set the prisoners free, to give the blind people the sight. And if you see the Magnificat of Mary, the mother of Jesus, she has said he has put down the powerful from their thrones and exalted the humble. He has sent the rich away empty and filled the hungry with good things. So the church today, across the board, very especially the laity, should come out in this year of hope, in this Jubilee year, in this constitutional, be more visible and vocal, take a stand for the gospel values, take a stand for human rights, so that all of us in this beloved country of India will truly live in justice, in liberty, in equality, in hope, in unity, in diversity, and above all, in the dignity of every single citizen, men and women of our country.
Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for giving us so much of time. We really would like to thank you for being in our show again another time, and we thank you for all your insights. Thanks. तो आपने देखा कि किस तरह से फादर सेड्रिक प्रकाश ने कई चीज़ों पे बातें की और हमें उनके विचार बताए। आपको क्या लगता है? डेफिनेटली आप हमारे वीडियोस पे कमेंट कीजिएगा। हमें पता जानना है कि आप क्या सोचते हैं। हमारे वीडियोस को लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर कीजिए। धन्यवाद।